In this video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the animation features inside of Maya. So the first thing I want to show you is down here at the bottom, there's this little icon of this person running with a gear icon. If we go ahead and click on that, it's going to open up the preferences and it's going to tell you about the time slider. So I wanted to show you about this playback. I think it's probably going to default to 24 frames per second, and that's going to be something for film, but you can put it on something for other, like 30 frames per second, and that'll probably work better for games. You might even do something like 60 frames a second. We'll go ahead and put it on 30 frames a second and hit saved on this. The next thing I want to show you is the actual time slider itself. So if you click and drag within the time slider, you can see that I do have some animation keys on here. And if we set the number here, we can say what is the number where we want the animation to start. And if you put it on 0, it'll start at 0. If we put it at 10, we'll put it on 10. We can actually even make this a negative number within through here. And you can see that at that point, we've got 10, and then we've got a negative 10 for where the frames can actually go to. So let's put this on maybe 0. Actually, if I put this on negative 10, that'll drive us all the way there. And then we can drag this slider out and through there. We can put this at 0 and then have this at 10, just like this. So you can see if we put a number like something like negative 100, it'll show us all the way the frames back to negative 100. And if we want that time slider to actually be something smaller, like going to 0, you can put this at 0. So this will still let you work with the animation all the way to negative 100 frames, but then you can see that this slider here for where it loops is actually a different number like this. And then you can see that this number here will extend the animation out to 200 frames or 500 frames, something like that. So that's kind of how you work with some of these pieces on here. I'm going to select the ship, and you're actually going to be able to see these little tick marks, these little red ticks. And this is actually showing you that there's keys of animation on this. So anything you do with the transforms, rotation, things like that, you can automatically set it up to set keys. If you want to go to change this to animation, you can see that if you go to key and do set key, the hotkey for that is S, and you can tell it what you want it set for. You can do all manipulators and handles, all keyable attributes. But I'm going to show you how we can go into the channel box and we can do just an individual value. That might be a little bit more helpful because sometimes you might want to capture the translation, rotation, scale all at the same time, but more often than not you might just want to do a little bit of animation on something. So you can see here at frame 1 basically what I did with the transform selected. If you go to the channel box, you can select any one of these channels just by clicking on it and then right click and say key selected. When you do that, it's going to set a key for it, and then you can just drag the time slider to another time. So this is at frame 10. Just raised up the object a little bit like this, and then just right click and say key. So you can also move this and set these values to something that's very specific like this, and then right click and say key selected. If you save a key directly over the top of a key that's already there, it's just going to override it. So you can see at frame 20 I've got this same key from here. Let me go ahead and show you this. If I hold down shift and I can click and drag out, you can actually drag a little kind of marquee around things, and you can click and drag and you can move that time around. We can right click on there and we can also say delete. So I'm going to get rid of it. So now I just have 2 keyframes and it just goes from down to up. This is another thing that you can do with the time slider. So if I've got this on this frame right here, I can middle mouse drag and I can go to frame 20, and then I can say what is the value for this, and then key selected like this. So now I can go up and down with this. You can see it's acting as if it's got keyframes there. Let me go ahead and put this at 1 just like this, and you can see what's going on here. The next thing I'm going to show you is under animation. If we go to Windows and we go to animation editors and we go to the graph editor, we can open this up and we can see here's where we can take a look at different keyframes and things like that in a window, and it's going to show you different curves. So I'll select the ship, and so this is the key for right here at 1, and then if we drag this over right here, you can see this is the key at 10, and then this is the key at 20. Now that's just one little chunk of animation, and I've got that playing over and over. what I could do is show you this. If you go to curves and you say pre-infinity, you can say cycle with offset, and then if I do curves post-infinity, cycle with offset as well. What that is going to do is basically take that chunk of animation, and I just middle mouse drag to kind of zoom out, and if I hold down Alt and middle mouse drag, I can pan this over. Now what we would have to do is go to show our tangents on this, and that actually exists under view. If we go to view, we can go to tangents and we can view infinity, and we'll turn that on. So now you can kind of see what is going on here with this animation. Also, what you can do is if you select a key like this, you can see that it's on frame 1. And if you wanted to move that, this is the value that it's at. So if we wanted to make it a value of 1, you can see how it raised the ship up just a little bit. We can change values within here, and we can also change the time of this as well. So if I put that on 0, we can look at it like that. If we do 1, we can look at it like this, right in through here. So what I want to do is see about having the time end directly on the bottom of one of these, so this can just continue to loop. And it looks like frame 96, if I put this on 96 like this, should be able to just loop back and forth. So the next thing I'm going to do is use the play button that's right here, and that's going to play the animation over and over again. Okay, so that's just a little quick view into how you can get something kind of animating. I've only got one value that I'm kind of animating over time, but it's possible that you can do multiple values over time as well.